This presentation, titled Enhanced Innovation Management Capabilities, ISO 56002 Innovation Management Systems Guidance, comes to us from Joana dos Guimarães. Joana is co-convener of the ISO 9001 Auditing Practices Group, an informal group of ISO TC 176 that provides practical advice, examples, and technical background to third-party QMS auditors on how to conduct audits. She represents Portugal as an expert at Working Group on Innovation Management, which is the WG responsible for the development of ISO 56002 2019 Innovation Management Systems Guidance. Her participation on the normative framework for innovation goes back to 2006 with the development of the Portuguese Standards for Innovation. Joana is Executive Development Director at APSER, a Portuguese certification body. In this position, she oversees the development of new services and technical updating of existing ones in the fields of management systems, products, services, and process certification. Quality management systems, innovation management systems, sustainable forest management, and chain of custody are areas of direct technical responsibility. She's been working in the certification business since 1998 and has been an auditor since 1994. She's currently a lead auditor for ISO 9001, ISO 14001, Innovation Management, Forest Management, and Chain of Custody for FSC and PEFC. And with that, take it away, Joana.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the next moments that we will pass together, talking and showing a little bit of ISO 56002, the guidance standard for innovation management systems. The basis for this presentation is the presentation that the working group of TC279 prepared to talk about the standard. I expanded a little bit to show a little bit more of the standard. And of course, the opinions that I'm going to express are my own responsibility. I want to give credits to the presentation to TC279, but also making clear that what I'm going to say does not imply any formal endorsement by ISO TC279 or Working Group 1. Why? I'm just going to pass very quickly the context for making the standard and the reason why ISO members that participated in the standard thought it would be important to make the standard. First is the recognition that a new profession is rising, that is becoming more and more important, that's the profession of innovation manager in the organizations. This profession is not replacing any existing one, by the contrary, they all coexist, the project management, the quality manager, and so on, but it's rising and it has its own needs. On the other hand, we also recognize, and this is the source is a little bit old dated, it's from 2010, but it's a valid one, and we think it's still very updated, that McKinsey stated that 84% of global executives say innovation is extremely important. Okay, we all know that, but 94% are not happy with their innovation performance. So there's a lot of way to go to improve innovation performance in the organizations, and also the recognition that more and more organizations are asked to be more innovative and to enhance their performance on innovation. On a more recent study made by PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the things that is considered more important to innovation success are human factors like human behaviors and culture, a fresh thinking, the leadership, the business model, and the support, the budget for innovation. You will see that we will speak a lot about this in the standard. On the other hand, there's also a big confusion about innovation. What is innovation and what can innovation do? And should innovation be formally managed? Is something that when we talk about innovation and management system, it doesn't combine. Innovation is a kind of magic, something that happens by chance. And there's this common belief that you can't force people to innovate. Of course you can't, but you can create the conditions, and you can develop an organization to be more innovative. Otherwise, there wouldn't be organizations that are able to innovate better, and others not to innovate. So that is the point. And one of the things that we have to define first is what is innovation. And innovation is defined as an outcome, a result. So a result of a new or a change entity. It doesn't have to be totally new. It can be significantly changed, that realizes value or redistributes value. So innovation is directly linked to the realization of value. And this entity that is further defined, it can be a product, it can be a service, it can be a process, a model, a method, etc. It relates to several parts and areas of the organization, and not to products and service by itself. It's also important to note that value can be financial or non-financial. We can enhance our image, the strategic advantage, the knowledge acquisition, the intellectual property, the reputation, and not only the financial value. Why should we manage innovation? Because we live, first of all, because of what we been talking nowadays, and it's common sense that changes occur more frequently. We are in a context of global competition, and where consumer demand requires organization to innovate very regularly and to be constantly putting new things on the market. And on the other hand, innovation is becoming more complex because we have a lot of information that we need to assess, to understand, that organizations need to assess, to understand, to share amongst them, to create, to define new opportunities for innovation. And we have to define monitoring activities that have to be systematic. And the pace of technological change and the emergence of new entrants in all sectors constantly challenges existing players. So organizations can be very well in their business. If they don't innovate, probably someone from outside will challenge them and will innovate. And on the other hand, it's more and more recognized that innovation doesn't concern only products or processes, and it's not only related to, as it was in the old days, to the R&D departments of the organizations that were launching new products on the market. It is multiple. You can't just innovate based on a new product. You have to think about the way you're going to market it. You have to think about the business model and so on. So it is multiple, and it affects all parts of the organization. And even parts that are not related to this core business are required to innovate. They are required to think of innovative solutions for problems that they encounter, like environmental constraints, or even, for example, now that we are talking in a year of the context of pandemic, where we have to introduce changes in the way we work and we manage our processes internally. And so innovation is not only about technical mastery, but also about developing new business, finding new business models, having a better legal know-how and commercial know-how. And on the other hand, it's more and more recognized that to innovate, you need to collaborate. It's no longer very feasible to innovate alone, and regions and countries need to establish collaborative innovation ecosystems. And for those countries, for those regions that want to develop these ecosystems, standardization is an important way to have a common framework for recognition, as we will address this. Why an ISO-led guidance standard? Why we decided to go to ISO? And the question should be, why not? ISO is a very, well, one of the questions for I-Not before I go into ISO is this point that I talked earlier, that innovation and standardization don't combine. This idea that innovation happens by a fortunate chance, that people find things they were not looking for. There's a word that is very used, and I think I put it in the beginning of the presentation, that is serendipity. That is a long, difficult to spell word that gives the concept of things that are found by chance without looking for them. And that is quite related. It's a word very used by innovation, and the idea that innovation occurs this way. The origin, it's interesting, if you go Google serendipity, you will find that the word comes from a tale from Walpole in the 18th century, an English writer. And this writer wrote a tale based on a very ancient Persian tale of three princes of Serendip, that is now Sri Lanka. And these princes were always finding things they were not looking for, but that were very useful, and they have the sagacity to find them. If you read better, you would see that the principals were very well prepared, very knowledgeable, and were in fact very well prepared to accept this novelty. So it was not so much by chance, and that is important. And as things become more complex, maybe you need a chance to find things, but you need also the system and the process to recognize these things and to turn them into the realization of value. Saying that was the main reason to propose a standard. And why an ISO? Because ISO is the biggest platform for standards. It's around here for decades. It has 164 members, and well, I don't need to tell you that ISO derives from ISO, but it's a way where we can make standards involving all interested parties and all the countries that want to participate. And why a management system standard? Well, because in fact, they are a very big success. They are recognizing to make things work. Since the launching of ISO 9000 more than 30 years ago, that management system standards are becoming more and more popular, even sometimes too much popular. But it's the way, it's recognized that it's the way that an organization can manage the interrelated part of its business in order to achieve its goals and objectives. So, and they give world-class specifications, which is important, because one of the things is important is recognition. And is when we talk to another organization, we talk the same language and we know what we are applying or not. And ISO provides that. An ISO standard provides world recognition. And a management system for all the reasons, because we have to enhance innovation performance, and a management system provides us the PDCA cycle that will allow us to plan things, to achieve objectives, and to continuously improve our system to enhance our innovation outcomes. On the other hand, it connects to other management system standards that the organization might be using, and it can complement and it can make it easier for an organization to align objectives from innovation from objectives that he has from other parts of its organization. And the fact that there's an high-level structure in place also makes it easier for standard writers to ensure this alignment that is so important for organizations. After, in the organizations, we know that integration is not only about having a standard written in a common high-level structure. It has more to do when more competencies have to be developed, but it is a main step and very important one. Why did ISO TC 279 decided to make a guidance standard? Well, in 2030, when this started, there were only 2 requirement standards in the world and several guidance standards. And it was recognized that it was important to create common definitions and language, to establish a credible and common framework, and to enhance the importance of innovation management activities as activities that should be interrelated by themselves and that were not. And so that was the main proposition of coming to ISO and making a management system standard. And the guidance standard, it seemed the best way. We wanted to, there was a lot of things to put in common from different countries, from different cultures. We had a lot of things to discuss. We want to provide guidance. And so it was, and also, as you know, a requirement standard is more demanding in terms of having to be objectively evaluated and having to have an higher degree of consensus. So the first way was to create a comprehensive guidance standard, an innovation management system designed for an organization that is already set up and complete should look like. This is how it should look like. The standard is not designed, for example, for startups, although startups any organization can use the standard and apply some of its elements and learn from the standard, although it might find it cannot apply everything. We, in the standard, wanted to make it clear that it is innovation management is a profession. It's accessible to all types of organizations. That this guidance can facilitate benchmarks and exchange good practices. It can encourage the implementation of voluntary approaches and can promote organizational agility. As with all other management system standards, it doesn't prescribe a unique model. It doesn't give solutions as a miracle recipe. On the contrary, there's a lot of work to do when you go to an innovation management system, and you have to persevere a lot to insist. And it doesn't also cannot allow to enable an organization to proclaim itself as innovative. We also think important to point out that there are several opportunities of standards deployment at region, country, and value chain level, and not only at organizational level. So we think the standard might be important for these levels of decisions and for the entities that make decisions at this level. First, to have common training standards, and for example, Sweden already developed an accredited people certification scheme to certify innovation managers, take the lead in international competition, promote exchanges within the innovation support chain, develop attractiveness of territories by developing common frameworks, and enhance economic recovery and boosting employment. And now that we are in this context of this disruptive change that occurred, this pandemic that all brought us all home and stopping business, we were the world's innovation and the need to innovate and find new solutions more and more. Now, a few words about the technical committee, how it is structured. If you go to ISO website, you can find it. It's ISO TC 279. Before we start, we have to gather all the standards that were already in place. And the first standard on innovation management goes back to 2003 or 2004 in Spain. They were the first to design a standard to promote a systematic approach within organizations to have better outcomes of innovation. And several standards appeared. Portugal followed closely, and then Mexico. And then Spain decided to create, propose an European Standard Committee that created its own standard later on in 2030. And other countries, meanwhile, also developed guidance standards. So there was a lot of knowledge in this standard, and it was all considered, as long as it was in English, it was all considered as an input to the standard. And it was very analyzed. At this moment, we have 4 standards published, one on fundamentals and vocabulary, another on this one that I'm talking about, another on innovation partnership, and a technical report that makes a picture on tools for innovation management assessment. We have 33 countries participating and several liaison members like OCDE or World Bank. OCDE very interested in having common and set definitions for a lot of things. We involve all interested parties, as I said earlier, and we are also working on other standards, like the ISO 5605 of intellectual property management, a standard that was proposed by China, another on strategic intelligence management proposed by Spain, and more idea management that was proposed by UK, and more recently operations measurement related to innovation that was proposed by Canada. And these are the future outcomes of this technical committee. Now let's go into the standard, and I always like to start talking about the standards by its foundations, that are its principles, that we define it first before starting the standard, to serve as terms of reference, to serve as guidance to verify if the standard was going on the right way, and to define and to define some of the verification criteria of the standard. And also they are a communication tool for us to show what is the standard about and what the standard is trying to attain. So they are realization of value, that the principle, Here you have an overview of the principles and the 8 principles, and then I'm going to show you the statement of the principle. If you go to 56,000 and probably sooner to a public document, you will also find the benefits you can expect from applying these principles, the actions you can take, and the rationale why the statement is important. The first of all, obvious, is about innovation, and innovation is about realizing value, either financial or non-financial. And for that, you need to realize it by deploying, adopting, and having impact on new or changed solutions for interested parties. So this is the purpose of innovation, and you need to have a process in place to bring new solutions to the market and to realize values from it. And you need future-focused leaders, and this is also a very important concept, because we talk about leaders at all levels, and that addresses that it's not just a question about top management, it's about all leadership being challenging the status quo, inspiring people all the moment, engaging people to achieve those aims, because there's a recognition that you need to change behaviors to design a culture for innovation, and that you need leaders to drive this change and to drive this culture. So their role is to define an inspiring vision and a purpose to encourage and engage people. And they should have behaviors like curiosity and courage. So they could change the status quo and move away from assumptions that we don't know we have, and that constrain our way of thinking and doing things. The other principle is that you need to have a strategic direction. And the direction for innovation is based on aligned and shared objectives. So you need to define them, and you need to have a long-term thinking. It's not only enough to think in the short time. You need to have a relevant ambition level that needs to be long time, and that needs to have support by people and resources. And then culture, that is fundamental. And that takes a very special place in this standard alongside with the processes and the collaboration. And it's something that has to be worked constantly in the organization, to have shared values, to have beliefs and behaviors that support, on one hand, openness to change, the ability to take risk, the collaboration, and enable two different behaviors that sometimes are contradictory. And one seems to be very risky to an organization, that is the coexistence of creativity, that we want to have new ideas, to have insights that can generate value, and at the same time to have an effective execution, because you need to run business and to get to the end of the year with your budget, and you need also to change, to transform ideas in the realization of value. So it comes a time in a good idea that you have to deploy the solution and realize value from it. And it's this coexistence of these behaviors that seem to antagonize themselves that you need to create and to change in your organization, and that we think it's not that easy. So there's a lot of effort to be put here. The other principle, it's exploiting insights. You need to assess a lot of information, internal and external. You need to use it systematically. You need to share it in your group, to build knowledge in which you can gain insights. You need to address stated needs and also unstated needs, things that people don't know they want. Like my mother always liked to say, if I didn't have a microwave oven, I wouldn't miss it at all. She would never ask for a microwave oven. Okay, so it's a completely unstated need, but once you have it, you cannot live without it. So this question of going to the unstated needs goes a lot to going to customers, to being very, very close to users, to interested parties, and to all information you need. The other point, very important, is about managing uncertainty. Innovation goes to levels of uncertainty that are very, very big. So you need to evaluate your risks, and you need to leverage them and manage them. And you need to do so. You need to learn from systematic experimentation. You need to learn how to failure and learn from failure, and how to failure without having lots of risks, without losing a lot. So it's this learning process, this learning iterative process that you need to master, and also to have a portfolio of opportunities, to have several opportunities to innovate with different flavors of risk. So it's like you don't put all eggs in the same basket, and you don't buy all kinds of eggs. You have eggs of different levels of risk, different levels of innovations. And so how this principle is applied in the standard. The other principle is adaptability, the way to anticipate change and to adapt your organization to the need of changes in the context, and do it, if possible, to anticipate it, if not, to timely adapt your structures, your organizational structures, your processes, your competencies, the models in which you realize value, to maximize your innovation capability, so change. And of course, systems approach. We need to analyze things as as elements that interact, and you need to evaluate performance regularly with the right indicators, with the right measurements, and you need to make the right improvements in the system. The key attributes of the standards are the focus on value realization. Innovation is about bringing value and evaluating this value in a very broad perspective. So you need to identify opportunities, to balance opportunity and risks, to allow the tolerance for failure. This is very important. To define your risk appetite, to involve users, and to execute. Whenever you feel that there's an innovation, you need to execute it quickly to realize value from it. And you need to have a broad perspective in your evaluation criteria, but I think I referred it already. The other key feature is to have an innovation vision and strategy. This standard guides you to define a vision that is consciously ambitious, that addresses the long term while considering other time horizons, but it has to consider the long term. And maybe it's deployed in one or more innovation strategies, and it should serve as a guidance for your strategic decisions. And it has to be understood and communicated within the organization. And it's also important that you realize if this strategy and this vision is contributing to the overall strategy and objectives of the organization. Even if you want to innovate in quite different areas of what you're doing now, if you want to go to new markets or to new products or to different things, it has to have a relation to your overall strategy. Where do you want to go? The other is culture, but I think I talk about culture. Just very important to say that when you go to the standard and it follows high-level structure of the standard, the culture and collaboration, the guidance on culture on collaboration that I recommend you to read, it's put at the same level than the processes, to recognize that these are key features of the system that have to be worked within the organization. Here, I think it's also important to refer the importance of encourage people to learn and also to stimulate diversity between people, so you can join different perspectives and look at things differently and see how others look, and from here have good insights of things and challenging your assumptions, your status quo of things. You need to have a collaborative approach. We all know that from innovation that we can't do it alone. So we have to have an approach to manage internal and external collaboration. This is important to facilitate access and sharing knowledge, that we need to have good insights and good ideas to innovate, to access new competencies and resources that we wouldn't have otherwise, and also to share risks. This standard also, although there will be a standard specific for this, how to manage intellectual property assets, how to identify and how to create and update information on our IP assets, how to establish processes to manage it, to protect it or not, or to evaluate it, and also to gain knowledge how to protect and increase the value from your IP, and also how to look at other assets outside the organization and how they can be useful for your organization. The other feature very characteristic of innovation is the approach to strategic intelligence, to increase your ability to preview and anticipate. So to have a more systematic and powerful way to access information from several sources, to use tools like data mining, market prediction, technological vigilance, to apply different perspectives, and why not, to consider influencing activities. Then, at the planning level, and as a way to manage uncertainty, this standard provides you a lot of guidance how to manage innovation, establish, manage, and evaluate your innovation portfolio. So you have to ensure your portfolio is articulated with your strategy and objectives, and this strategy and objectives will be very important to evaluate your portfolios. You have to promote a balance in terms of risk, novelty of change, types of innovation. How do you evaluate and communicate the results on your portfolio, and how do you decide if you're going to optimize or extend your current offerings, or if you're going to new users or new markets or new customers? Finally, I'm going to present you an overall view of the model of the innovation management system. Here you have it. So you have in the cycle of plan, do, check, act. You can see that support is in the center of that cycle, because support, the resources, the competencies, the physical resources, the financing, the time, and so on. And the chapter on resource gives an extensive, comprehensive view of all the resources that are needed to innovate. They are fundamental, so we can innovate. So they are in the center, really, to support this innovation, this PDCA cycle. So you have the process of innovation is in the do part, and it is defined as identifying opportunities, create concepts, validate them, develop, and deploy. What is relevant to say here is that there's not a specific order to do this. You can enter the process several ways. You have to recognize that innovation processes are never linear. They go back and forth. They don't always commence in the same manner, and that you might need different strategies and different processes for different initiatives. And you might have initiatives that are from innovation and that don't follow this process. So it's a very flexible approach to the process. All of this has to be supported by leadership that sets the vision, the strategy, that sets the commitment. In the context, you have external and internal issues. You have the system with the processes and the culture and the collaboration. Finally, in here, you will find a structure of the standard. This was performed by this overview was given me by SQS, and it will show you what is common high-level structure that will have text that is related to innovation, that is particularly to innovation, of course, but what are the things that are specific in different clauses, like the focus on value realization, the vision, the strategy, the organizational structures, the time and financing that are in resources, the tools and methods, the strategic intelligence, the innovation initiatives, the innovation processes, and so on. What are the potential benefits from applying this standard? For us, the most important, I think, it's an increased ability to manage uncertainty. And time shows us this time that is important, more and more important to manage uncertainty and to be prepared for it. It should, if well applied, increase your growth, your revenues, your profitability, your competitiveness. It should make you a more sustainable organization and give a common understanding and language. Of course, reduce costs and wastes and increase productivity, improve your resilience, and increase the satisfaction of users, customers, and other interested parties of your organization. And a lot of other potential benefits, like you will probably have a sustained renewal of the portfolio of your offerings. You have people more prepared, more engaged, more empowered in the organization to innovate. You will, by having a systematic approach and following a common structure, be more able to attract partners and collaboration and funding. You will enhance your reputation and valuation. And if other organizations are applying this, you may be able to understand their ability to innovate and to collaborate with them and facilitate compliance with regulations and other relevant requirements. With all these, I expect that I have made you more curious to know the standard, to explore it, and to make use of it in the best way you think it's possible. I thank you for your time. And Mike?
Well, thank you, Donna Dos Camarasa, for that look at ISO 56002 and innovation. And that concludes this presentation.